Xander Schauffele versus me, the Kiwicoach. What's up, guys? It's your favorite Kiwicoach. Let's go do this thing. Alright, guys, so if you guys are new to Mike's OG Academy, we do everything you guys need to know about golf instruction, whether it be golf course vlogs, golf instructional videos, golf swing analysis like this one. Again, anything you guys need to know about golf instruction, we do it here. So if you guys haven't already, hit that little red subscribe button. You guys are going to be notified every time we drop a video. Alright guys, so I wanted to make this video just to kind of show you guys the differences between more so of a quote-unquote rotational golf swing, even though I think that's kind of a horrible label for it, and more so the traditional model with the kind of the bump, right, getting the pressure forward and breaking that barrier type of look. So let's kind of get into it. I got me on the left of the screen, I got Xander here on the right of the screen. We're just going to kind of go over some differences between our two golf swings. So let's go with the takeaway and everything first. So as he takes it back, I would say Xander has a much better takeaway than I do. I've never had a great takeaway, and I really don't like my lead arm parallel position with the P5. And I think Xander's doing a better job. Notice how his right forearm is a little bit more above the left. That just means that he has club shaft pitch maybe in a better position. You almost want club shaft, if anything, a little bit more vertical on the backswing than as opposed to kind of flatter. I would say my club shaft pitch gets a little flat sometimes. But all in all, I mean, we both kind of have a very traditionalist type of backswing so far to this point. Top of swing with me, I would rather see my trail side knee a little bit more extended, and I want my elbows a little bit too early, kind of externally rotated. But everyone has their things that they're working on, right? But all in all, we guys are in a fairly similar position at the top. Obviously, my lead foot is way more flared out than his is at this point. And it just, from this position also, my trail side foot is a little bit more flared out. So I'm not really going to make too much of an argument in that sense. We're more so going to look at what we're doing differently in transition, because this is kind of the main take-home talking point of this analysis, right? This is going to bleed into the overarching theme of injury prevention, what I've always been trying to talk about, as well as kind of notify you guys of the differences between a rotational golf swing and more so a bump golf swing. Now, I think for both of those golf swings, the rotational versus the bump is a horrible label. Now, I do get why it was put there, just because one looks a little bit more rotational, less bumpy, and the other one looks more bumpy. But in terms of a biomechanical sense, these golf swings do differ, but in certain ways, and let's kind of get into it. So both of us are at the top of the swing. We're going to draw a line on the lead hip on Xander's, and we're also going to do the same thing on my lead hip. So as we take Xander down, we're going to see in transition, it's the classic break through that barrier, right? And we're going to stop him at lead arm parallel. Let's dissect this a little bit, right? What are some good things that Xander's doing at this point? Well, notice his elbow, right? It's externally rotated and it's below the lead arm on this point. I think that's just a great move to have no matter what you do, right? And I think he's doing a great job with that. Now, what do we not like? Well, first thing is, notice how his lead hip has broken this barrier by an excessive amount, right? Notice how it's almost towards the groin area. For me, that's not my preference as a coach. I don't really personally like that, because I think it leads into some injury prevention talks that we're about to get to. Also, if we take a note, we can see that his trail side knee is internally rotated already excessively. And that gets his lead hip higher than the trail side hip, right? So he's in right pelvic tilt already by lead arm parallel. Now, if we go take a look at my swing, we're going to see I also break through that barrier subtly, right? Not as much as Xander, but subtly. And if we get me into the lead arm parallel position, our knees and body lines are going to look a whole lot different, right? So let's kind of dissect this real quick. First things first, both of us obviously have the trail side elbow externally rotated. That's why we're both pretty good golfers, right? We're not getting that club shaft super steep and getting that look. That's a huge take-home point for the audience out there. Second thing from there, we're going to see my knee right here. At this point, it has subtly internally rotated, right? That just means kneecap is gone. It went from the top of the swing. If anything, it externally rotated in transition a touch, right? It almost went a little bit this way, and then now it's starting to internally rotate. But it's not kicking in a lot compared to what Xander is, right? Now, because I've done that move a subtly bit different than Xander, we're going to see that I'm actually in left pelvic tilt, right? My lead pelvis is subtly lower than the trail side. Now, what does that do for me personally? Well, it gets me less stuck, right? So I'm not going to get the elbow as stuck behind the body as Xander's is, and then it also puts me into a position where I think I'm going to have a little bit more of a neutral pelvis by position 6, which then leads me into going into the golf swing without having to put on a lot of right side lateral bend. Because if your left pelvis is already, or if you're in right pelvic tilt, which is the pelvis doing this, early on like Xander's is, he's going to have to get a lot of right side lateral bend because he slid so far forward to make sure that his head and everything doesn't move way forward, right? And that gets attack angle really steep into the golf ball. So his compensating move is to do this, get a lot of right side lateral bend. Now, because I haven't done that, I don't have to get as much right side lateral bend, and we're going to save the next part of this talk actually for a little bit later because I don't want to give away all the secrets yet. But let's get us down into position 6. So we'll say right around there. Race the lines. We're going to do the same thing for Xander. He's going to be right around, let's call it here. Cool. So we're going to see some noticeable differences still, right? So the main difference that I want you guys to take note of is look at his hands relative to his hips, right? Notice how there's a little gap there. If we do the same thing for mine, look at my hands, no gap, right? So my elbow or my hands are more in front of my body as opposed to Xander's, right? Typically that's what you're going to see with players who bump a lot, is the elbow has a hard time getting in front of the body, right? I.e. the stuck, jump ball, stall, flip that I talk about. Now from this position, let's also take a note of our pelvis lines, right? So again, Xander's still in right pelvic tilt, right? I, at this position, am pretty much at a neutral pelvis line. I don't have either which side more higher than the other. If anything, I might have a little bit of right pelvic tilt, but nowhere near as much as Xander's, right, as you can obviously see. Now, in terms of knee structure, right, so Xander's has, his trail side knee is internally rotated quite a bit. It's kicked in pretty hard at this position. Mine is starting to kick into internal rotation, but not as much. Now, if we go take a look at the lead knee, notice how Xander's is somewhat externally rotated, but nowhere near as much as mine at this position as well, correct? So the argument in this position is I'm less stuck than Xander at this point, right? So I'm not going to have a little bit of a jump, stall, flip from here. So let's go take us down into impact, both of these players. Will get me right there. Just after impact. Let's just do just after. And we'll do the same for Xander too real quick. Let me get this perfect. Right about here. So we're both just after impact. And let's start taking a look at some of the differences between the two of us right here. So let's go, let's first take a look at the, what should we look at? Let's look at the lead hip. This will be an easy one for you guys to see. So if we draw a line on the lead hip, well, let's not even draw a line. Let's just bring notice to it. Notice how the hands are behind the lead hip here. Now, if we go take a look at mine, my lead hip is behind the hands, right? So I'm more cleared and posted up, more, I would say, more efficiently on that lead leg than Xander is at this point. Now, the main reason why is because I didn't get my knee kicking internally really quick. I didn't get a lot of right side lateral bend and get this slidey look really early. That was the main reason why my hands are more in front of the lead hip here. So I'm driving and holding and getting a stabler rate of closure, I would argue, more so than Xander is at this point. Now, another noticeable difference is going to be the amount that are, like I said, trail side knee has internally rotated, right? Xander's is pretty much fully kicked in. I still have some kick left in there, right? I still have some room to kick and churn through impact. That is a really good telltale sign of someone who is stalled out. If they're already pretty much internally kicked in that knee as much as they possibly can, he's going to be stopping around impact. The whole body is going to be stopping at impact. Keyword right there, that's the jump, stall, flip. Cool, now let's go, there's a few more things we could talk about. Let's just go real quick over the amount of right side lateral bend he has, right? Notice the axis of his shoulders relative to mine. Obviously I have right side lateral bend, but I would argue not as much. And then let's go, let's take us to just past PA, right? PA is pretty much around here, just a little bit past it. Let's zoom out on Xander and let's do the same thing for him. So right around, let's cut about here. Cool. Awesome. So now from here, we're definitely going to see some pretty big differences, right? So let's go take a look at, first let's just draw a line from the lead hip straight down. So we look at Xander's. Notice how Xander's is in the middle of his foot right there, right? So that means his lead hip is more so on the outstep of the foot than on the instep. If we take a look at mine, and we draw a line from the lead hip straight down, mine is on the instep right here, correct? So I don't have as much pressure on the outstep of the foot, which by the way is a great way to save your ankle joint right there. if you guys are having ankle issues and you got pain on your ankle, you're probably a slider, most likely. So I'm posting up on that lead leg a little bit more efficiently. Now, as you can see from this time, if we go back for Xander, we don't really see him do much from position 6 to here except for just extend, right? See, it's just extending pretty much to here. The body's really not moving a whole lot, and he's just extending, a little stalled out. We look at mine. Mine is still churning, right? See, I have a little bit left to give with that kick, and I can churn as I extend. So I'm getting a little bit more whipping action through the ball right here than he is. Cool. And that's super important. Now, also as well, you can see that from this position, it's harder to tell from this view than it is the down the line view, but Xander obviously has a lot of right side lateral bend here. My lumbar is a little bit more, well, let's call it neutral compared to Xander's. I still have a little bit of that lordosis and a little bit of that right side lateral bend look, but nowhere near as much as him, right? So I'm supporting the lumbar spine, I would argue, a little bit more efficiently than Xander is at this point. Cool. So let's just take our swings up towards the top. So right about here. And then we're going to take Xander up right about, he's about here is the end of this swing, right? So even from this position, you almost see him kind of hanging back, and you don't see him quite fully have put all his pressure into the lead leg, right? You still see a little bit of lordosis right here, right? There's still a lot of curvature right there, as opposed to if you see my swing at the top of the swing, I almost have a really neutral spine, a lower spine, lumbar spine at that position, right? There's a little bit of curvature, right? Because a neutral spine is a little bit of curvature, but it's not as much as Xander's, right? So I would say I'm more supported in this position than Xander is at this time. Also, notice how pretty much my sternum, this goes to just strengthen that point even more. My sternum and sacrum are pretty much in a line here. Xander's would not be, right? He still has, if anything, I would say sacrum behind the sternum. And he's just really not supporting the lumbar spine in this position, right? So cool. So take home points. What do you guys need to take home from this, right? A lot of you guys are going to take from this that I'm trying to say that my swing is more optimal and I have a better golf swing than Xander. And that's kind of a hard topic question to answer, right? Because golf swing can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I would say in terms of, obviously Xander's a way better player than I am, better scorer, and just would destroy me in any type of golf match. Now, that's not the argument I'm trying to make here. The argument I'm trying to make with this golf swing analysis of Xander Schauffele is that he's doing some major factual things that are putting his spine in more risk than my spine is. And also at the same time, I think he's also relying a little bit more on timing of the release than I am at this point as well. Those are the arguments that I'm trying to make up. Just because my swing, quote unquote, on paper is better than Xander's doesn't mean that I'm going to be a better player, right? There's a whole lot that goes into becoming a better player than just golf swing. But keeping that aside, you could still say that maybe if Xander would do a few different things with his golf swing, that he would have a lot better chance of staying injury-free, as well as possibly even gaining some consistency out of it as he does that, right? So again, guys, major take-home points. We were fairly similar. I mean, if I want to be real golf coachy, we had a really different backswing. But if I'm going to be for the general masses out there, we had a fairly similar backswing, right? Nothing like too crazy. But downswings, where you're going to really start seeing the massive differences. I'm more so churning on that wall, right? Notice how I have a little bit of a fall to that lead leg, and then I start churning on that wall. By position 6, I haven't really kicked in the trill knee as internally rotated as much as Xander. Xander has a little bit more of a bump and slide, and then drops into a massive amount of right side lateral bend, and gets into a position where he really puts a lot of torque on that lumbar spine because his chest can't really churn. Because if his chest churned, he would be super steep and across the golf ball because the amount that he pushed forward. The more forward of the golf ball you are, the more likely you're going to have a steep attack angle. But to offset it, if you bump, Xander put on a lot of this motion. Notice how that gets me more behind the golf ball. My argument is what you're doing there is called shearing, and you're getting a lot of lordosis in that spine, or a lot of right side lateral bend as well. And that's how people injure themselves. I can't stress that enough. That is my argument. Hopefully a lot of you guys get that point. It's not a swing that I would tell a lot of people to replicate because I just think it's so bad for the back. I think more so the model that I'm swinging at would be better for the masses out there, especially people who already have a little bit of back issues. Like, I got a lot of students that came to me because they knew that I kind of spoke about biomechanical type of stuff, telling me that they've had golf lessons in the past where the instructors taught them to kind of do that bump and that slide, and it just destroyed their back even more to where the point they couldn't play golf. And now, after kind of going over some simple ideas with me on trying to keep everything to the minimal, right? There's always going to be some risk of injury no matter what golf swing you do, because if you have any amount of right side lateral bend and lordosis of the spine with APT and rotation, there will be some effects that could possibly injure you, because again, the spine was not designed to move that way. But if you want to play golf and not just quit forever, I think there are procedures and ways you can go about it to get into a little bit more neutral alignments of the spine that are a little bit less torque on your lumbar spine, a little bit better for you, right? And that is kind of the argument we're trying to make here, and I think you guys hopefully have gotten that by now. And if you guys want, make sure, if you want to kind of get your own golf game where you want it to be, make sure to take advantage of our video analysis. It's going to be a $15 product. Now, currently right now, it is the 20th December. On the 21st, we're going to be doing a major Christmas sale. That's 50% off everything on our store for everyone who's bought something or purchased something from our store. So again, guys, for everyone who's watching, who is interested in what I talk about and kind of on the borderline if they want online lessons or not, go ahead, get the get the video analysis for $15. And then once you get that, then you can go ahead and take advantage of that 50% off discount and start your progression towards better golf. Again, guys, we only take about 10 online students a month just because we do a lot of physical location lessons as well as making our membership site and all this other stuff. So make sure to take advantage of that ASAP. I typically get filled up with all my online students by about the first week of the month. So by January 7th-ish, 8th-ish, I'll probably be out of spots. So make sure to take advantage of that Christmas deal right now. It's going to be a super low price. 50% off, guys. You can't beat that. All right, guys, so if you haven't already, go ahead, smash that like button. Let me know if you guys like these types of videos with a comment. I'm always looking to hear what your guys' thoughts are and if you guys want to see some new content coming out soon. And as always, hit that little red subscribe button. All right, guys, best of luck and play some good golf out there.